Well, buy now, pay later is a great service to have, especially when Apple is introducing it to us. But how safe and convenient is it to use as a consumer? Let us know all about it in today's episode of the iGeeks Blog Show. Hello, my name is Harshanki and you're listening to the iGeeks Blog Show, an Apple podcast where we talk about all things Apple. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about what is Apple Pay Later, how does Apple make money off Pay Later, and should you be using it as a consumer or not? Lastly, we'll also be discussing if Apple Pay Later is going to be available for the Indian audience anytime soon or not. So stay tuned to the episode and keep listening, but don't forget to connect with us on our social media channels. And if you're watching this podcast, hit that subscribe button right now and let's keep in touch. Okay, moving on. So this year, WWDC, we had incredible lineup of softwares and products. Well, I know everyone has an opinion about the products or maybe the softwares that were software updates that we got for ourselves, but I'm going to leave you to that. What really took everyone by surprise was Apple Pay Later. Apple, as a $1 trillion company, getting into the buy now, pay later scheme was the topic of discussion, the hot topic of discussion, because a lot of companies have been doing this for a very long time, right? In fact, if you're into startups at all, buy now, pay later has been one of the topmost selling ideas, one of the topmost selling fintech ideas in the year 2022. You must be aware about Slice, LazyPay, mPocket, Simple, and there are tons of options like this. Even Amazon has introduced a concept of Amazon Pay Later, right? So what exactly is this buy now, pay later, and why has Apple jumped into the bandwagon is a hot topic of discussion, at least for this month and the coming quarter. However, since the feature is not rolled out yet, you can't really test the feature, but it is very simple on paper that Apple is going to give you an option of making the purchases right now while paying it in 4 installments over the week of 6 intervals over a time period of 6 weeks. So you'll need 4 installments to be cleared in an interval of 6 weeks, where you'll have to pay the first payment right upfront, and the rest 3 payments would be done in different intervals. So that is Apple Pay Later for you. Now, as long as you have Apple Wallet and you've been using it, I guess you just have to give an ID card to be eligible to use that. That's how simple it's going to be to use Apple Pay Later. Coming back to the really important topic for the day, what are the pros and cons of Apple Pay Later, and should you be using it or not? Talking about the pros of Apple Pay Later. Now, one of the most important advantage of sticking to Apple for the buy now, pay later scheme is going to be that it is a trustworthy company. So it's going to be easier for you to just stick to that company for the method that you're accepting. Secondly, it is also going to be, it's just simpler if you have one company or one ecosystem providing you everything, right? And Apple, especially when it has decided to enter into the financial market, you would want to probably stick to it rather than going through the burden of having another app installed in your phone to help you with the buy now, pay later scheme and getting all the ID verifications and everything. Now, when you have Apple Wallet and have been using Apple Pay for a long time, might as well stick to the buy now, pay later scheme that Apple Pay is offering rather than going to a third-party company. These are the primary pros of Apple Pay Later that we can see right now. Obviously, there'll be more add-ons once the feature rolls out and we can test it. My friends sitting in the US can test it and get back to us. Yes, right now it is only going to be available to the US audience when the feature will be rolled out this fall, and gradually they would roll it out to other different regions of the world. When will India get it is going to be a huge question, considering Apple Pay also had its share. So let's wait for the right time for Apple Pay Later to come in the country. Talking about the cons of Apple Pay Later. Now, there are tons of cons that Apple Pay Later is going to have, and we're going to be discussing them one by one. But before that, you need to understand what exactly is buy now, pay later scheme and how is it affecting you or your credit score. A very reputed business school associate professor, Rajat Roy, recently came out with his own theories on the Apple Pay Later scheme, and he asked people to stay against it. So, what Rajat Roy was trying to convey here was that not just Apple Pay Later scheme, but any buy now pay later scheme or any companies offering that kind of method, we should stay away from that. Now, you might wonder, if you don't have to pay any interest and these installments are interest free, then why the hell not? See, the thing is, these installments or these purchases may seem remote and tiny to you. I mean, you want to buy something with $100, and if you have to give 4 different installments of $25, then what the hell? You should just go for it, right? Here's where the problem is. It affects your credit score. Okay, because these are considered as personal loans, even if they are interest free, the EMIs are interest free. These are considered as personal loans. So if you miss any payment or if any penalty is added to you, that is going to be a huge problem, and that's how it is going to affect your credit score. Secondly, if you have little to no self-control whatsoever, and trust me, we've all been there. If you don't believe me, just like have a look around your room or house and look at all the unnecessary purchases you made when you had a bad day at work, or probably fought with a friend, or had a terrible breakup, or maybe were happy because you got a bonus, right? So the lack of self-control is what this industry is majorly banking upon. Because you might wonder, if you want to buy a Jimmy Choo, say worth 20,000, if you're looking for a Jimmy Choo heels, or say a Jordan for 25 to 30,000, you may not want to pay the whole thing upfront. You would probably pay it in installments of 5 to 6,000, which will give you a luxury item by the end of 4 to 5 months. However, if you don't stop that mentality at that one purchase, you'll have installments going on for 10 different purchases in your life, and there would be a time where you do not understand where to stop this circle, okay? This is an ongoing fight with the subconscious mind where you cannot decide where to put the full stop, and that's why it can get a little too burdening. Okay, the added luxuries, the ease of paying just 1/4 of the payment and then, letting the installments take care of the rest would affect you to a greater extent, because that will add the kind of debt that you weren't really expecting in the first place. And if you default one of these payments, if you miss one of these payments, then it is going to affect your credit score, because this payments or this model is being looked upon as a buy now, pay later scheme. Now, Apple is not getting any money from these transactions that you're going to be making, which means even if you miss a payment, no, Apple is not really making any money from it. However, you would be charged a little penalty or some kind of added fee by the bank that is associated with whichever credit card that you've linked to Apple Pay. You'd be charged a little by them, and that's how you'd have to pay the penalty. So these are a couple of cons that you would have if you stick to Apple Pay Later or any other buy now, pay later scheme for that matter. But it's again an individual opinion whether you want to get to that method, whether you have the right self-control and you think it's going to work out for you. Personally, for me, I do not believe in these interest-free EMIs, because I just believe it is a loop and it is very difficult to, stop once you get into this. I'm the one who'd just pay full cash or make the payments like that. But hey, this is my individual opinion, and if you like it, you should just go for it. Regardless, if and when Apple Pay Later is introduced in the country, I'm definitely going to give it a try, because this is the first time Apple has tried to get into something like that, which would be really interesting. They picked up on one of the hottest selling business ideas this season. So how is Apple taking care of this, and how smooth have they made the service is going to be a really interesting topic. But here's what I want you to understand, okay? How does Apple make money of these transactions? Like I said, Apple is not charging you anything for using these services. So there are absolutely no charges in any of these installments. There are no charges by Apple when you miss a payment or something like that. However, Apple is getting payment from the merchant fees. Okay, so whichever company you can use the buy now, pay later scheme, those companies pay a small percentage to Apple, and that's how Apple is going to make money off this business model. Now, this particular strategy works for any buy now, pay later model that you have been using, be it Lazy Pay or Simple or M-Pocket or all the other companies that I just mentioned. However, one advantage over the competitors here from Apple's end would be that the merchant wouldn't be aware about you using these services. Now, I've read this somewhere, okay? I've read this that the merchant wouldn't be aware about you using this, and it is completely confidential between you and Apple. So, for instance, if I need to buy this mic and this mic is costing me $1,000 and I've decided to pay 4 different installments of $250, so this is going to be a very confidential information between me and Apple, and the person or the company that sold this mic to me is not going to be informed about it. So I guess privacy would be another advantage when you talk about Apple Pay later here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is how Apple is going to be making money out of every transaction you make. Okay, like the charge is really small, right? Like how much could the merchant probably be paying Apple? But imagine the number of transactions that you do on a daily basis. Imagine the number of people who are using Apple Pay for their regular purchases. And imagine the number of people who would be using Apple Pay later once that service is introduced to the market. That makes it 10 folds, 100 folds, probably 1,000 folds, and increases Apple's income substantially. Now, when you talk about how is Apple Pay being received in the global market, there are mixed opinions if you ask me. Now, if you talk about countries like India and Australia, more than 25% of the online buyers stick to the buy now, pay later model. Online shoppers stick to the buy now, pay later model, and they've been using this method for a very long time now, at least for the last 2 years. So I guess it's going to be hugely welcomed when these countries are getting the services. However, a lot of core tech people believe that Apple is jumping into a lot of industries at the same time. They are broadening their horizons. First Apple Car and now the FinTech model. So that might drift Apple's focus from the products and software updates that it should be offering rather than sticking to these new models. So I don't agree to that, to be honest, because Apple has always been a company who's had a good reputation for diversifying in the past. And I know Apple is going to ace this one as well. But again, the time can be the best suitable judge for it. And once the feature rolls out, I would be able to have a better opinion on this. What are your takes on Apple Pay later, and would you be welcoming for Apple Pay later if and when it is introduced in the country? If you're listening to this episode from any part of the world, how excited are you about Apple Pay later? Just let us know in the comment section below, or connect with us on our social media channels. We're available everywhere as iGeeksBlog, and we'd be happy to hear your views. Well, that's all from my end. I hope you have every information for Apple Pay later, and you're going to be wise and smart when you make the decision of using it or staying against it. I'm going to see you next week with more exciting content, probably testing a real product or some rumors. Who knows what? This is Harshanki signing off, and you're listening to the iGeeksBlog show. I'm going to see you guys next week. Till then, stay safe, stay connected, and don't forget to check out our app.